Now that sedans are becoming a thing of the past, these crossovers are becoming so popular, but sometimes they're just too big or they're too small, but this one might be just right. This is the new 2022 Volkswagen Taos, and it is in between like a compact and a subcompact crossover, and it's got just enough passenger and cargo space and just enough features to be a perfect combination. We're gonna take a full look at all the exterior, the interior, and take it for a test drive. We're gonna check everything out. Let's get started. All right, let's take a look at the exterior, and this is an all new model, so completely different, newer than anything you've seen from Volkswagen. And on the outside, the trim levels are gonna range from the base S, the SE, and then the top end SEL, which we have right here. It's gonna give us the most amount of features. So let's go ahead and take a look up front right away. First of all, you've got a lot of kind of like honeycomb mesh look going on at the top and the bottom. You've got full LED headlights, including the LED daytime running lights, which are those little lights kind of integrated inside of there. So LED high beams, LED low beams, and then there's even an LED light bar running across that grille that I'll show you at night in just a second. I like the front end for the most part. It's kind of like the Volkswagen Atlas in a way with its styling and its headlights. You've even got an LED turn signal, so that looks nice as well. A little bit of glossy black here and there. Hopefully that continues to look good throughout. But check out this paint color. This is called Cornflower Blue. This is a really unique paint. It's not like a metallic-y paint. It's just a really bright, vibrant blue color. And I think it looks great on this Taos, especially contrasting with the dark accents here. Now at night, these are adaptive headlights on the SEL model. And the headlights actually adapt and move side to side, coupled with this LED light bar on the grille. This looks really cool and is very impressive at night. And now the wheels are going to range a little bit from 17 to 18-inch wheels, but we've got 18-inch wheels, and they're going to be black on the SEL model, which is what we have. And you've got a little bit of cladding around the wheels, a little bit of cladding at the bottom, similar to some other crossovers. But what do you think of the black wheels? To my surprise, we don't actually have turn signals in the mirror, which is a little bit interesting, but you've got body colored mirrors. You do have a blind spot indicator in there. And then you've got a little bit of chrome under the windows, some black at the top. Roof rails are going to be standard. They'll be black on the lower trims, but every model can get roof rails. And you've even got body color door handles. And this is very familiar Volkswagen styling with that hard line running from the front all the way to the back. Now, dimensionally, this is not a large vehicle. It is not a small vehicle. It's 175.8 inches long, 72.5 inches wide, and about 6.5 inches of ground clearance. So compared to the Tiguan, it's quite a bit smaller, but compared to other subcompact vehicles, it's larger than those. And then coming to the back, what do you think of the design overall? But check out these taillights. We've got full LED taillights on here. LED taillights are standard. I'm not sure about the blinker, but that is an LED blinker on this model. They have a really unique design. They're standout taillights at night. Look pretty cool. And then as typical with Volkswagen, those look like exhaust outlets, but they're completely concealed. But you do get parking sensors back here. Now as we move to the cargo area, this is where things get pretty darn impressive for this size of a vehicle. There's no power liftgate or hands-free liftgate, which some of you might want, but that's not really all that common at all in smaller crossovers. But that lifts up pretty easily on its own, and there's a grab handle there to lower it down. And just look at the space back here. So this is really deep and large and wide. And I mean, you can stack stuff up pretty high because this floor is nice and low. It's wide. It's great to fit a lot of different items in here. And as there should be, there is a spare tire under here, which is always good to see. Plenty of space for that, and it doesn't really affect the load floor. Check it out. You've also got hook over here, which could be for a cargo net or grocery bags. And then you can get a cover back here if you want to, but we don't have anything. There's a couple little tie downs like that one and on the other side. And then check this out. You actually have a center pass-through. There should be more vehicles that have center pass-throughs like that, because that can actually be really convenient to not impede passenger space, except right in the middle. And you can throw long items back there. Now, in order to fold these seats down, you could reach ahead. Otherwise, you have to go to the second row to do so. Now, with that folded down, you'll see in our front-wheel drive model, we have a pretty big lip right there, so it's not totally flat, but that could be good to keep stuff, you know, corralled in here. But you've got about 66 cubic feet, which is absolutely massive for a vehicle of this size. That's really, really competitive with a lot of bigger vehicles, which is really cool for this Volkswagen, and just a huge, huge benefit to having a vehicle of this size. Every model is going to give you push button start, but only the SE and SEL will give you remote start and the smart key system. So unlike some Volkswagens that have a sensor in the back, this one is all controlled by this button. So you'll just push that button to lock it or unlock it, and then you're good to go. But also, check this out. If you press and hold the unlock button the second time, you can roll all the windows down. That's on other Volkswagens too, but most people don't know about it. Now hopping inside, first of all, the base S model is going to give you cloth seats that are manual adjustable, but these ones are 8-way power adjustable, which you'll get on the SE and the SEL. You've actually got 2-way lumbar support here, tilt and height adjustment, all of that down here. The SE is going to give you synthetic, but this SEL gives us real leather. It is perforated leather. I like the two-tone gray, like a light and dark gray. It's got good bolstering. These are very good Volkswagen seats that seem to almost always be comfortable. I like the bolstering and the cushioning overall. Let's go ahead and hop in. So if you want heated seats in the US, the base model does not give you heated seats, but the SE and SEL will. Standard, but only the SEL gives you real leather. But I've got to say, I am comfortable in here. I like the shaping of these seats. The headrest isn't too aggressive. The only thing is some people might want ventilated seats or memory settings, but you don't get either one of those on here. Okay, let's hop into the back seat. And this is where things are actually really surprising. So even though this is a smaller class of vehicle, the back seat is definitely still quite spacious. Now first thing, over on the door, this is all hard touch plastic, so you definitely get cheap materials on the entire upper door panel. But you've got soft material here for the armrest and a really big bottle holder like you'll see in the front. Now sitting behind where I would normally sit at 5'9", I've got a ton of foot space and knee space. I do have the seat elevated just a little bit, and there's still a ton of room for your feet, which really makes a big difference in how comfortable you are back here. There is a hump in the middle, even though we just have the front wheel drive model, so maybe not ideal for having a middle passenger, but you can still fit somebody. I have that seat all the way back, so let's see if I still fit back there. And I do, and I can actually sit here semi-comfortably. I mean, a lot of subcompact vehicles that are smaller than this, you definitely can't sit behind the seat like this. This is more of what it would normally be like. But this Volkswagen Taos is really, really spacious. And you usually don't even see rear air conditioning vents, but you do in the Volkswagen Taos too. So check that out. You've got that, and then you've got a USB-C and a little storage bin right here. So I'm really glad to see those AC vents in a vehicle this small. But wait, there's more. We've got a center folding armrest with a couple little small cup holders and some padding. And headroom is really good. I've got tons of room above my head, like I said, 5'9", and these seats don't feel like they're super upright and uncomfortable. I can actually feel like I'm lounged back a little bit. The only thing is these seats don't scoot forward or backwards, and they don't recline. But in their normal position, I'm pretty comfortable. All right, so now that we're inside, this is a nice, practical, very simple interior layout with a good functionality to it. So you've got push button start down here. All trims get push button start, but only the top two get the smart key system. And check out that digital display. We'll go through that in a second. Now this steering wheel is manual tilt and telescoping. It's got pretty good range of motion as well. I've had no complaints getting that comfortable. This steering wheel is also heated. And the interesting thing, the base model just has the regular polyurethane plastic type steering wheel. This one and the SE, so the top two trims get a leatherette wheel. And I honestly don't really like the way it feels. I wish this was just real leather or polyurethane. It kind of has a weird texture to it, but small complaint, you get used to it. You've got this stitching on the inside of it. You've got these little grips on here and all the controls for your music, your lane keeping system, and that digital display. Everything's easy to access. One quick note is that you get rain sensing windshield wipers on the SEL trim, and with that, your windshield wipers will actually have heated nozzles on the SE and SEL. So that's fantastic in wintertime. Then over on the door, Volkswagen's got a nice looking door. It looks similar to the seats with the two-tone. You've got a nice soft material up here if you rest your arm. This whole area is also soft and padded. And you've got a padded armrest, a good grab handle, and every single window is the one-touch automatic. And you've got a really large storage bin down here. And thanks to its shape, my large bottle fits easily. And then there's your fuel door opener right there. The headlight controls are right here. No fog lights or anything like that. It's all just basically on or automatic. So let's look at this digital gauge cluster. This is over 10 inches and this is on every single trim level. Standard, you can see the far left, you've got temperature, the far right, you've got your fuel, and then it's all digital in the middle. So this is customizable using the steering wheel. You can change the entire layout of the view. So you can kind of have a more simplified or a more traditional look, just depending on what you want. And then there's a bunch of information that you can scroll through from all of this information right here. So I really like this digital cockpit. It's customizable, whole bunch of stuff you can see, and it's nice that you can even change the view. Now, for those of you that love soft materials, this entire dash is like hard plastic, not like it's a big deal, but I like this cutout right here because it could be a good storage area or just to like set sunglasses or wallet or something, but it's hard plastic, so stuff is gonna slide around. You could easily put a little rubber mat right there. And then you've got some piano black around this display, which is very easily scratched, but it's not a whole lot of it. And the display is going to change a little bit depending on the trim level. The base is going to give you a 6.5-inch display, but the next two trims will give you this 8-inch touchscreen right here. So everything is touch sensitive. This looks just like other Volkswagen models. You've got actual knobs here for volume and tuning, but then you've got touch sensitive buttons on the rest of it. And it reads, or it senses your hand. So watch, as my hand gets close, this will pop up. Kind of a cool little feature, but there's a lot of customizable settings and features on here as well. And this also has wireless Apple CarPlay. Check it out. We've got Android Auto as well, but check it out. It's wireless. I've got a plug-in right there, but I'm not actually plugged in. I have my phone over here. So it's nice that you get wireless on here. That's definitely a nice feature because we have a wireless charging pad down there too. Those of you that love your music, we have the Beats audio on this trim level. So you've got a subwoofer, and you can even change not just the bass, but how much the subwoofer actually goes. So, and it sounds pretty good, and it's pretty loud. And staying with the screen, let me go ahead and go into reverse. You've just got a regular camera. There's no 360-degree camera on here, but you've got parking sensors on here as well, which is good. And this is a really wild camera. So you can touch the screen, you can access your parking sensors, but check this out. We go back to the camera. Over here, you kind of have your regular view. Press that, and then look, it highlights everything. And this box, watch, as I turn the wheel, it moves the box like where I'm gonna end up. And it's red because it's gonna be on the curb, but then you're green when you're not on the curb. So that is really interesting from Volkswagen. Then you've got a top-down view from the back of the car, and then a little bit of a more laid-back view like that. Then moving down, we've got a softer material coming across here, definitely injection molded type of plastic, but it looks nice. And then the top trim is going to give us dual zone climate control. You don't get dual zone on anything else. It's manual on the rest of them, but the top trim gets dual zone climate. Heated seat buttons right here. It is 3-tier heated seats for you and your passenger, just no ventilated seats, but you have your own temperature controls on each side, fan speed in the middle. Everything's pretty easy to operate. You can have it on automatic, of course, as well. And then down here, like I said, there is a wireless charging pad, which is on everything but the base, so the SE and the SEL, which is perfect for those of you that want to wirelessly charge and use wireless CarPlay. You have a 12-volt power outlet down there, and then 2 USB Type-C. There's no USB Type-A in Volkswagen here, it's just Type-C. And then this is very traditional, just like most Volkswagens. You've got your shifter here, push button start, a power electronic parking brake. I'd like to see a brake hold button with this, but we don't have that. I'm not sure what the plans are for these blank buttons, but you got your auto stop start system to shut that off right there. Then coming back, we've got good cup holders. They're pretty large, they accommodate drinks. This one's a little bit higher. This one's a little bit lower. So you can put taller drinks in there, shorter drinks, a little storage cubby. The armrest is soft, and it's a little bit wider than you might expect for a vehicle this size. It's really short. I wish it could go a little bit further forward or maybe be elevated a little bit, but it just stays in one spot. And there's nothing special in here, just a deep storage area. One nice little feature is on this side of the center console for the passenger, they've got a little mesh net. Volkswagen does not give you a locking glove box. It'd be nice if this was locking, but it is large and soft opening. More of the interesting material coming across in this kind of unique, like gray, shiny material. It's better than gloss black everywhere, I must say that. Our top trim level gives us an automatic dimming rearview mirror. We do not have garage controls on here on any trim level. Then up above, you do have a sunglass holder. Those are starting to become less and less likely in vehicles. And then our visor, the entire visor will slide out. So you're good to go on that. And we don't have it in here. We don't have a moonroof or sunroof at all, but you can get a $1,200 panoramic roof if you want to. And then check this out. The SEL trim gives us ambient lighting. And be sure to check out my night video if you want to see more details, but you go to your settings, ambient light, you can show where you want the light to be. So like you can pick an area like the doors, the dash, or just all of them and change the brightness on it. And you've got all these colors that you can pick from. So check that out. This looks really cool at night. Got these lines, and you can turn it completely off if you want to. I think it looks pretty sweet. Now, how's the visibility out of here? Out the front, small pillar for the most part. Coming out to the back, these back windows, the second window is pretty good size. And even though this is a small vehicle, you still get a third window there, plus that. So visibility is really not bad. And one thing that I definitely appreciate on this Taos compared to older Volkswagens, we have blind spot monitoring in the mirror, which is normal, but Volkswagen used to make it to where when you turned your signal on, the signal would actually blink right here, right next to your blind spot indicator. So those would both potentially be on at times, or maybe your signal would be on and be blinking and you'd quickly think it's your blind spot monitor, but it wasn't. So you don't see that anymore. You just see the blind spot indicator right there. Now, under the hood powering this Volkswagen Taos is a peppy little engine, but you only get one option. That one option is this 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that's going to give you 158 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque that comes out really early, so you don't have to push on the pedal very much. You'll actually get a different transmission depending on whether you get front-wheel drive, which is standard, and what we have, or all-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive is going to give you an 8-speed automatic, or the all-wheel drive is going to give you a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. Miles per gallon with this front-wheel drive model is 28 in the city, 36 on the highway, and 31 combined. And you're going to lose a few MPGs if you opt for the all-wheel drive here. All right, let's get behind the wheel of this Taos so you can get an idea of what it's like to be the one driving. Now, in this test drive, we're going to go through the ride comfort, how it handles, the acceleration, just day-to-day driving, what it's like to drive this Taos, and whether or not you think it would be a good fit for you. There are things I like and some things that I don't like about the driving dynamics of it. All right, so right off the bat, it feels very light and nimble, which it is. I mean, the steering is easy to toss this car around, and it feels pretty punchy with this turbocharged engine. It's got a good amount of torque, not a ton, but still a good amount of torque for this weight and size of a vehicle. Definitely can't complain much about that. Now we're just in normal drive mode. Partial throttle, and it feels pretty peppy. I mean, it gets you up to speed pretty quick. The city in-town driving dynamics of this is great because of how punchy it is. Definitely something to be said about the driving dynamics of a turbo. There is a little bit of lag right off the bat, but it's pretty punchy overall. And we'll put it in sport mode in a little bit, but just cruising along on most road surfaces, this car feels very smooth, or this crossover. For a vehicle of this size, most time when you get into the subcompact class, the ride starts to be sacrificed. It gets to be choppy and bumpy, and this is quite good. I mean, it soaks up bumps well, even though it's got semi-large 18-inch wheels. And let's get a little bit of pedal down. And a punch right there. Very quick to respond. One little nitpick about this transmission is that sometimes it still feels jerky. This is the front wheel drive model, so we have the 8-speed instead of the 7-speed dual clutch that you get with all-wheel drive, and this still feels a little bit choppy and jerky sometimes. Not all the time, mainly when you're going slow, slowing down, or partially accelerating, but when you're actually like getting on it, passing power, stuff like that, it's pretty smooth and quick to respond. Now, around this little corner here, I like the steering. So I was in an Atlas, a Volkswagen Atlas, not that long ago, and it felt like it was almost a little bit too flimsy with the steering. This feels a little bit more dialed in and feels a little more accurate, just easier to place this Volkswagen Taos than that Atlas. Obviously that was a lot bigger, but this doesn't feel super lightweight. It is still lightweight, easy to turn the wheel, but it's a little more direct. Feels like it's easier to steer, easy to keep in your lane. And then on a day-to-day driving aspect, visibility is good. I've got no complaints with the visibility. The layout is good, the screens are easy to see. without being distracting. You can control everything with your steering wheel. The cubbies and storage in here is good, and I've been comfortable for the most part too, so I've enjoyed my time in this Taos. Alright, as we get going here, I'm going to put it in sport mode, or pull this shifter back into S. We don't have the typical drive mode button like you'll see in like a Golf, for example. Pull that back, RPMs automatically kick up, should be quick to respond. And it's really holding those RPMs. It's not fast, but it's quick and punchy and feels pretty swift, especially for a vehicle of this size. And handling, like I said, the steering feels fine. This front-wheel drive model probably won't handle quite as good as the all-wheel drive because they have a little bit of a different suspension setup in the back, but I don't see any sacrifices with this. Most people will be perfectly fine. But passing power is good too. 50 miles an hour, pedal down, and you still get good torque right off the bat. I'm going to shift out of sport mode, but the one thing that you'll miss out compared to a naturally aspirated engine with more horsepower is once you start to get your RPMs up and get up to speed, it does kind of die out and fizzle out a little bit. So it's got good initial punch, but you'll have to drive one for yourself and see how it feels. Driving dynamics are good. This also has the Volkswagen IQ Drive, and with our top SEL trim, we've got everything like adaptive cruise control, a lane keeping system, we've got blind spot monitoring here, automatic emergency braking. All of that is included on this one, so there's a lot to like about that. And right now you might be able to hear there's a little bit of wind noise coming in. I don't have my decibel ratings yet. We'll get on a rough textured road soon, but I'll put those I'll type those out down below so you can see the actual noise ratings. But this glass is not double pane laminated, so you know, and you can hear a little bit of wind noise, and that's not a common thing for this class anyways. But now that we're on this road, you can hear some of the road noise coming in. This is definitely not as quiet as some bigger vehicles, but I'll put the decibel ratings down below. I wouldn't say it's terrible. Better than a Golf, that's for sure. But I'll put the decibel ratings down below. And let's go ahead and close things out on this Volkswagen Taos. I think it's good to drive, definitely a good daily driver, plenty of space. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. Now wrapping things up on this 2022 Volkswagen Taos, I like the size of this. The subcompact class, those can be pretty small and almost annoyingly small for a lot of people's lifestyles. But this, it's not too big. It's not too small. There's plenty of room to fit people in the back seat. The cargo area is surprisingly big as well. And that leads to a lot of practicality because the interior of this is very practical. You still get a good amount of features on here, even though this isn't going to quite give you what you get in the normal compact class, like for example, Nissan Rogue, Toyota RAV4, Honda CR-V, things like that. But space-wise, it's still probably just as good for most people. But what do you think? Leave your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something and enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and have a great day.